I grew up through that whole sort of phase in Cabramatta where it was still a bit rough. There's this sense of brothership that you had to look out for your mates because of like our shared stories and what we've been through, and like you have that sense of responsibility almost to like look after your community. I regard myself as Cambodian, but I don't regard myself as like a Cambodian. I'm not quite Australian, I'm not quite Cambodian. There's almost like this stigma with the word Aussie, in which it only applies to white Australians. So you can't really fit into that archetype. We tend to form our own identity, our own ethnic identity, which is separate from like the mainstream Australian society and separate from like the overseas society back in like our parents' home country. It's something that a lot of young people, especially in the western suburbs of Sydney, it's a dilemma that we face growing up, and something that we have to deal with once we reach our adulthood, like this sense of self and who we really are.
Originally I was born in Vietnam, but I immigrated here back in '92. Pretty much I grew up most of my life in Cabramatta. There's a big Vietnamese community in this suburb. A lot of people still speak Vietnamese. It is a part of my identity. There was a lot of media hype back in the day about how, dangerous this suburb was. People are generally quite suspicious of media. I know in the last few years I've seen Today Tonight and Current Affairs do stories on the ethnic enclave, they call it. The high-risk areas like Lakemba, Bankstown, Cabramatta. I think at the end of the day, the best way to experience Cabramatta is just to have a friend take you down there for what a nice neighborhood now. I've got a Chilean friend, Italian friend, American friend, Welsh, Irish, English, Cambodian, Japanese. We started learning in school about multiculturalism. We now know it's a good thing, but the best way that we learn about why we should strive towards multiculturalism is we saw the alternative, which was, ignorance and a lot of bigotry, and we saw that firsthand. We realized we didn't want to be part of the problem. We wanted to be part of the solution. We're embracing new cultures and we're embracing new things.
It's the beautiful part of the world.
We actually met in high school. Didn't like him at first, but it wasn't until after university we started talking about things like history, the art and music and all that. This dude's really intelligent. He was a pretty cool guy. He likes really good music. Yeah, that's actually how we became friends.
We're involved with Fairfield YAC, a Fairfield Youth Advisory Committee. It's young people there to advise counsellors on the issues that face people between 14 and 24 in our community.
I volunteer for the local council. I volunteer for the State Emergency Services, SES. I am also in TAFE to study to be a chef. Everywhere Asian people tend to immigrate, they tend to fuse a lot of their culture into whatever country it is with their food. So I'm pretty sure most people are aware of Vietnamese pork rolls, even though they're not from Vietnam. Well, I've always loved food. I started looking up Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand, and China in these episode lists for these travel shows. The good thing about those shows, they don't treat exotic food as something totalistic. And that's pretty much when I started experimenting with food.
The dish I'm gonna make is salom machu, which means like sour soup. It's gonna be the first time I'll be making this. This is a really traditional Cambodian dish. They eat it everywhere, but it originates from the countryside.
I might make bun xeo, which is like sizzling, kind of like a sizzling crepe with some prawns and pork belly. Half is for the batter and the other half is for me. So what are you cooking today, man?
I'm cooking salom machu.
I can't say that. So what does that mean?
It means sour soup.
Oh.
It's literally sour soup. Maju is sour, Salo is soup. Well, I asked my mum, like, can you teach me something new? And she said this is a really typical sort of Cambodian dish. And the powder itself that I'm making now is a very sort of traditional Cambodian thing. We have the galangal, which we just dug up in the garden earlier, turmeric as well. Garlic, lemongrass is a big ingredient in it, and lime leaves. Oh, nice.
Is Cambodian fish sauce the same as Vietnamese fish sauce?
Cambodian fish sauce tends to be a bit more stinky. It's like rotten fish with the bones still in it, all mashed up with eggplants and everything like that.
I'm really getting this Cambodians like stinky food vibe. Not as stinky as Thai fish guts and fermented paste and everything, but still much more smelly than a lot of the food my mum makes.
I'd say that's pretty fair. My mum really never really let me cook in the kitchen either. Yeah, you know how Asian mums are like. They don't really tell you how to cook. They just expect you to know. And when you don't do it right, they tell you off.
I actually asked my mum for like her family recipe for the thing I'm making today. And she was like, oh yeah, just go on Google.
Just go on Google. So this is tamarind paste? Yeah. It's just like a tamarind concentrate that you cook with. Normally you actually get it from a packet like this. It's just a fruit. In this form, they just pick it, chop it up, turn it into a paste and put it in a little packet. Normally you get a piece of that, get some hot water, squeeze it between your fingers, and it turns into this when you're done with it. So this sort of like watery, brown, syrupy paste, which is like really sour. I want to see like one day in the future, Western Sydney like culture and arts community being appreciated and renowned in the same way as like maybe working class areas of London are in. They very much have this sense of cultural identity within their more marginalised boroughs, whereas in Australia we don't even really, mainstream media doesn't really realise Western Sydney is here and don't really know what it's about.
Boom. We got some prawns here. We got some bean sprouts, pork belly, bit of onion, bit of spring onion, like that. Fill up any holes that might be there. Roll the pan around in a circle. Away, see how it's peeling? That's how you get that crispy outside. And that's why they call it bun sale, that noise that it's making. It's sizzling. Yeah, a lot of our food is theatrical, and that sounds very, very pretentious, but it's kind of true. A lot of our food does involve us wrapping it ourselves and dipping it in, and looks great. Well, I'll grab this one. Looks great. And it smells a lot better than the mix that it was made out of.
Yeah, put a bit less than I normally would.
Yeah, no,
my mum normally would.
It smells
That
really,
really
really.
don't like.
It smells really good actually compared to the smell of the kitchen earlier today.
Oh, I can't figure out what your mum's secret ingredient is.
Yeah, no, my mum's got a secret ingredient. She doesn't want to tell me.
It makes it taste different from all other like on sale.
I'm assuming, because you know more about history than me, that prior to my immigration here and settling down, that this geographic area has been very ethnically homogenous, and it's just changed from culture to culture. But what we have now is finally a multicultural suburb to live in.
I think our generation was where everyone was sort of just brought together and we got used to each other and grew up together. The whole concept of borders and countries is a Western Europe, a Central European one anyway.
And the border in Cabramatta is really just a line on the train network map. So.